What is the status of solid waste in the country? We all know, when I'm going through the secondary data, Niti Aayog report, these are the figures, 130 to 150,000 tons of solid waste generated a day, naturally brought down in terms of per capita, and then naturally it adds up to about 50 million as put by the Niti Aayog. And their take is that by 2030-31, it will go to 125 million tons. So the quantity is going to increase. Economy is growing, consumption is growing, and therefore the waste will grow. Now, according to, again, Swachh Bharat Mission guideline book, operational guideline, it has said these are the achievements. So as I said, 2014 is a kind of a cutoff. In 2014, 18% waste was treated. In 2021, for the report I am quoting is about 2 years old or 3 years old. 2021, it had gone to 70%, door-to-door collection 97%, source segregation, the report says 85%. Now this 85%, I think we have to take probably not with a pinch of salt, but a bag of salt, I would say.
It should be reversed.
Well, I won't say that either. After seeing Goa, I think one is very optimistic. So yeah, Goa is a great example. Now another report, this is CPCB report, and this is another aspect I like to highlight here. CPCB says 160,000. So from 130 to 160,000 ton a day. With 95 collected, treated 50%. Again, whether 95 collected is properly transported to the designated site or not, that's another issue. Treatment 50%, which again I feel is a bit on the higher side perhaps. It is not really scientifically treated perhaps. This is the landfill. Again, when you say 18% is landfill, that could be accepted because many large cities are having good landfills, either sanitary landfill or at least it's controlled dumping at least. 32% they are saying is not at all processed. So 50% process treated, 18% is landfill. Now, the point which I want to raise here is to validate these numbers. It's not only for academic interest. Niti Aayog says 130 to 150,000 tons a day, and CPCB says 160,000 tons per day. One reason of difference could be that probably they have taken the entire country in view. Perhaps, maybe peri-urban areas or maybe rural areas have also been considered. I don't know, because they may have gone by the population parameter. But if that is not the case, then it's a huge difference. And why it's important, as you go down to the city level, ultimately, the only way it is calculated is based on some per capita amount, 250 grams a day, etc., multiplied by population. I have worked in city of Mumbai, and when I asked, they said, when I reached the Gwmc, I said, what is the basis of your estimation of the waste? They said it's the Neely's report, 1996, which says 220, 250 gram a day or something. So simply multiply the population of the ward of the city. And then we actually verified at the dumping ground. At that time it was really dumping ground, but we had a good weighbridge. And we found that the quantity was much lower actually. Now if that is not verified, then what happens? We tend to procure more vehicles. We tend to incur more capital expenditure. And then, you know, that I would say a nexus of maybe, I won't, any kind of nexus of the corporation and contractor nexus starts. So that waste is not allowed to decrease, it always goes on increasing. It's very important to have a proper plan, and as part of the plan we need to really validate the quantity of the waste that is being generated of different type of waste. This, of course, I think everybody must have spoken about it. This is the, this is how the waste is supposed to be managed in our city, and this is the part of the solid waste management guideline of Niti Aayog. And when one sees in Goa, it's part of your Goa state solid waste management strategy. These are some of the best practices which again have been captured by the SBM guidelines, and now these are based on the study of 28 cities only, probably which they have highlighted. And of course, it goes without saying that Goa figures on top here. But it is noted as an example of only source segregation. I would say it should be acknowledged as the best example of integrated solid waste management. There's no doubt about it. There are some gaps, and gaps can be improved upon. In addition to this, why I'm saying so, we have several other examples. Mr. Khadir is here, Suryapet, and Suryapet was kind of a role model way back in 2003, 2004. We always used to look up to Suryapet. Now we have another city, small town called Ambikapur in Chhattisgarh, perhaps, or Madhya Pradesh, but probably Chhattisgarh. And this is an example of decentralized waste management. We have a small town called Karjat, close to Mumbai, another very good example of segregation-based zero-waste model. And over there, the landfill site has been developed into a park. And they segregated waste into 36 categories. I mean, really phenomenal. So, not many good examples are there in the country which are required to be captured. Mumbai, which as a city, though has never figured in any good rank in the Swachh Sarvekshan, has set many good examples. It's got an excellent scientific landfill, which picture I'll show. PCMC, I mean Pimpri Chinchwad Corporation, is another city which has come up with a state-of-the-art waste to energy plant. So we need to capture all this. Now coming to the topic that has been given to me, what are the achievements and what are the challenges? So on the achievement side, I mean, I try to kind of be brief. Significant progress in terms of collection transportation. I mean, irrespective of percentages mentioned or that could be debatable, but there is significant progress. Earlier, the waste was not collected generally, it was collected when there were heaps, there were complaints, but now waste is collected fairly regularly and transported. Then there are, as I said, number of stories in sustainable waste management, which is the philosophy of these management rules, and of course we need to replicate that. Now, waste management technologies have been established. Earlier, when I was in the Gwmc, when we used to talk about sanitary landfill, there was no sanitary landfill in the country. And then we were taken all the way to USA, funded by USAID. Of course, we were very happy at that time when you are going to America. And anyway, solid waste, of course, is this thing, but that was my first visit to USA, so quite an achievement in a way. But then we used to feel, when will that moment come that India has those kinds of landfills or excellent plant, state-of-the-art plant? But now in India, all technologies, best examples are available. And again, as I say, if anybody has to learn in solid waste, one has to come to Goa. Now on the challenges side, despite collection and transportation, still there is littering in the public spaces. The emphasis of Swachh Bharat Sarvekshan is on visible cleanliness also. And that's important. And that's where Indore scores over many other cities. Or maybe Navi Mumbai scores over many other cities, and where Mumbai fails. I stay in Mumbai, I have worked in Mumbai, and I have a special love for Mumbai, frankly speaking. But Mumbai failed because of littering. They are managing about 6,000 to 7,000 tons of waste every day. It is huge, stupendous task day in and day out. But still, they figure nowhere in the rank. So, littering is one issue. Even in Goa, I could see some, wherever the shop lines were there, villages were there, one could see some plastic bottle here and there, which I think could be improved upon. Then the gaps in C&D waste management. As I said, I consider C&D as a very important component of solid waste management plan, because C&D, once the construction debris is dumped, on top of that comes the the municipal waste. So we need to control C&D waste. Sanitary and hazardous waste collection. In fact, that's an area which requires a lot of discussion even today. Source segregation, it has been discussed by the earlier speakers. It's a major problem, a major issue to be addressed. Somebody said 97% of whatever it has been segregated. I think that is not acceptable. Formalizing decentralized management. Now, this word, as she was saying, just now. I think in all the presentation, decentralized waste management, everybody has been talking about. And I'll try to address some of the, raise some of the points which are related to that. Engagement with the recyclers, waste pickers, if you want to strengthen decentralized waste, replicate best practice itself is an issue. Then in waste management technology related, there are huge gaps in processing capacities. People are ready to invest. Just now we had a presentation from Saurashtra Waste Company. There are people ready to invest, but what you need is that you have to have some investment-friendly environment in the country so that the private parties could come forward. Littering, as I said, one of the why littering takes place despite the rules. Now, the rules say that the generators are responsible for waste management. In a way, they should store it, hand over to the designated agencies, but it's not really happening. But perhaps the reason could be people are not storing waste at source itself, right? The waste generators are not storing the waste at source itself. Why is it happening? Any reason do you think? Perhaps people don't have space at home. There is also an issue of gaps in secondary storage. Then probably we have not been able to engage with the community as probably we ought to be doing it. There are gaps in that, and I'll try to explain how that could be done. We need to still look at the door-to-door collection improvement. Also need to probably improve the waste collection center and MRF centers. C&D waste, as I have been saying in this presentation, is very important component, and this C&D waste which is generated, something like 10 to million tons a day, is generally recyclable. It is recyclable into aggregates, and if that is done, it will reduce the need of the material altogether. So, speaking a little more on the C&D waste, as I mentioned, this C&D waste is largely comprising of concrete and masonry recyclable waste, and if it is sorted, crushed, and sieved, then it can be converted into aggregates. Aggregates are required for roads, as you all know. You're all engineers mostly. And if we do that and use this material instead of fresh stone, then we will save a lot of carbon footprint of the construction industry. There are two major organizations in the country who are working on C&D waste, CBRI in Roorkee and CRRI in New Delhi. And TIFEC is also working, and they have insisted that we need to kind of come out with quality standards for recycled aggregated material. Now, Goa is going to set up the C&D waste management facility, and I'm sure they will be looking at this aspect. So whatever aggregates are generated by them should be of certain standard quality. And if that could be done, I'm sure they won't have any problem in marketing it. Again, C&T waste on top of the solid waste. These are the issues. I won't, waste much time here. But one aspect which I find is that effective monitoring of the movement of the C&T trucks is required to be done. In fact, monitoring of solid waste management movement in general is important. Sanitary and domestic hazardous waste is an issue still, as I said. It is normally mixed with dry waste. Diapers, etc. I can say with confidence that in most of the families in the country, sanitary waste is going in the dry waste. Actually, as per rules also, in 2016 rule it says it should be wrapped properly and put in the same bin as of truck. But the time has come perhaps that the sanitary waste or home-based biomedical waste should be provided for in a different container altogether. There are some good examples. Karad is an example where they have separate. Karad is a small town in Satara district. They have separate bin and they have a separate collection system for sanitary waste, diapers and sanitary pads, etc. Now this I feel to me is an important slide because we have been talking about decentralized management. Jyoti Tai just explained how she has been working for the rec pickers for them to be internalized in the formal sector, and we also had other examples of decentralized waste management, So if you see the guidelines, if you see the rules provide for integration of the waste pickers. The rules talk about involvement of the community, the citizens. Now, as she was also saying, the SBM guidelines provide for identifying the waste pickers. They are also required to be enumerated and profiled, so that those rag pickers could be organized into different type of organizations, maybe NGOs, maybe registered society, maybe as a cooperative, as she said. Now, here I would like to give a little launched in the country. It's called Namaste. It's a very interesting name. Namaste, as you know, is the national action for mechanized sanitation ecosystem, and it has been launched by the Ministry of Social Justice and Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. As part of that, what they are doing is they are identifying the manual scavengers who are involved in the cleaning of septic tank and sewer lines. You all know that many deaths occur every year in the cleaning of the sewer lines and the septic tank. So the government has now said that all UNPs are required to map the scavengers, and on the same lines, I am told they are going to do it for the waste pickers also, because this is a project which is being taken by the Social Justice Department. In fact, I had a discussion with the the Secretary of the Social Justice Ministry, and they said they are coming up with a scheme for waste pickers as well. So the point is that they have to be identified, they have to be profiled, and then once they are enumerated and profiled, then we have to have a protocol and a system to integrate them in the system. Then you have to legitimize the informal sector, and these are the rules, or these are the provisions of the solid waste management rules per se. But they stop over there. How to legitimize, they don't clarify. Now, here what I have proposed over here is that if you see, this is probably a framework in which the decentralized waste management with the involvement of informal sector could be thought of. Now, this is a kind of a figure given in the SWM guidelines. Over here is the municipal body, the resident, the waste generators, the informal sector and the formal sector, right? Now, my first suggestion over here is that if we want to bring the informal sector in the mainstream, one of the ways it could be done is to develop their capacity to register themselves as micro enterprises, just like cooperatives or whatever. And then give them a preferential allocation and support, in the sense they can have municipalities can have a separate procurement process for decentralized waste management. Now, I must say that in 2005, we did a study with the help of USAID when I was part of the solid waste management cell, that what could be a legal system thought of for the waste pickers organization. And a model was, then we developed a model, and that was basically two-step model, two-step kind of a framework. One, identify the rag pickers and organize them. And secondly, develop a contractual framework, a contractual template for allocating the work to them. The second part is engagement with the citizens. Now here we have the Resident Welfare Association, or in Mumbai there's a concept of ALM and Federation of the Cooperative Housing Society. Now here again, I am of the opinion, and we have tried this, they can also be formally involved in the waste management. Now, for example, if they are registered organization, Federation of Housing Societies, they can be engaged within a contractual framework perhaps. An important part is that whenever we sign contracts, now Goa or Mumbai sign contracts with the CMT, collection and transport contractors, that contract document must talk about the informal sector as well. Because what is happening is that, these waste, because if they are kind of supported by the municipality, they are collecting the waste, segregating the waste, but the rejects have to be collected by the C&T contractor, which is generally not done. Recently, we did a study on our Kurla ward. Kurla in Mumbai is one of the challenging wards, and what we found was that just like SMS, there is another organization called AKAL, and they are running some MRF centers. But their problem is that the waste rejects are not taken by the C&T contractors. So while executing the contract for collection and transportation, this should be one of the conditions that they will have to provide collection system of the rejects from the informal sector collection system. That is very, very important. Now, we have seen MRF. Some of the very good MRF are available in Goa itself. There are examples of Ahmedabad. There are examples of Indore. I personally feel that MRF plays a very crucial role in entire solid waste management. To promote decentralized waste management, to promote waste minimization based system, we have to have two-stage collection and transportation. First from the generator to the MRF or sorting places, and then the secondary transportation from MRF to the disposal site. And as per solid waste management rules, it is the duty of the ULBs to set up MRF. But many ULBs have not yet done it. One important point which is required to be done, I mean, I'm not talking about Goa, but in general, there are several good examples as we have discussed in Mumbai, in Goa, in Mumbai, in Delhi also, and these have been kind of captured by various reports. But why only handful of good practices? I mean, in a country as big as ours, why are we only talking about 50, 60 good examples? Why can't we scale it up? We have learned a lot. So what is really required? And here, I feel that people like Mr. Asnani should be able to convince the government of India that these best practices should be converted into directives. If something is being successfully done in Goa, for instance, or in Suryapet or Ambikapur, for instance, why cannot be part of government orders? We all work, we are driven by the orders. We are not driven by guidelines, unfortunately. Guidelines is like a law by convenience. We follow that when it is convenient to us. So all these directives are required, if they have to be, all these examples are to be replicated, must be converted into directives, into what you call office memorandum in Government of India's language, or in Maharashtra as we call government resolutions. This is another aspect that I'm trying to highlight here. Is about waste processing. I mean, as we discussed, only 50% processing capacity we have. This is an example of Mumbai in Kanjurmarg, and it's a pretty well-developed facility. Of course, always things can be improved. They have got a very good MRF, bioreactor landfill again, which is a little debatable issue. A gas collection system from bioreactor, and which is being the energy is being produced and used for captive consumption. They've got a compost plant as well. Now they are proposing in Mumbai a waste to energy plant, and it is estimated that the cost of the investment of that plant would be about 1,700 crore. This is a new facility very recently launched in Pimpri-Chinchwad. This is a state-of-the-art waste to energy plant with the help of Japanese technology which has come up. The project cost over there is 330 crore. Government of Maharashtra has given them some viability gap. Now, why can't we reach 100% processing in the country? Why only 50%? Most of these gaps in the processing capacities are in the large cities like Mumbai, or maybe in Chennai perhaps, or Kolkata for that matter. It requires technology and investment. People are there, technologies are there, investors are there. But probably what is lacking is an investment-friendly ecosystem, and I will raise this point further in the next slide. While there are private operators who can bring latest technology and financial resources, but they feel shy of it because there are some major issues in investments. On the other hand, the ULBs and the state, they do not have the capacity to address the challenges themselves, but at the same time, their staff is not technically equipped to bring the private investment or to kind of manage the privately promoted technology solutions. Now first, these are the points which I think we need to look at in order to promote the private investment in the country. One is that we all realize that the investment in the waste management is a very long-term investment. I was talking to the Antony Waste people in Mumbai. Their contract is of 25 years. Their contract with PCMC or Pimpri-Chinchwad Corporation is of 22 or 23 years. Now, during this period, they have to kind of provide for something which is uncertain also. Our rules change, High Court or NGT decisions change, and therefore there's a lot of uncertainty in the entire future ecosystem. And therefore any contract has to provide for a review of the contract. In today's date, what is happening, once the contract is signed, though the situation may change, rules may change after 5 years, there is no provision for contract variation. And if anybody tries to do, any municipal administrator try to do it, I think he has got a lot of risk to face. People might kind of attach motives to his contract variation initiatives. But this is one thing that we have to realize. The second part is that the ULBs, we need to develop the capacity of the ULBs to manage these contracts. At the moment they have none. Or maybe some corporations have technical people, but they don't have the contract management capacities. As a result, what happens, they at times, or many a time, take many unilateral decisions. Now recently I heard about a city, in fact I was talking to Mr. Asnani, in one city in India, very important state of the country, a waste to energy plant is being developed, and halfway down, when the investment was largely done, a new municipal commissioner came and he said, is it green energy? Prove me how is it green energy? And the entire work was stopped, the payment was stopped, and the work was stalled completely. So some of these issues, see from the perspective of the investors. I am not here to promote the private industry. But my request is that we should stop thinking the private sector as some kind of a parasite, which unfortunately we feel or we try to believe. And we feel that informal sector is fine. They are, of course they are poor, there's no doubt about it, but these people are mercenaries only. So I think we have to understand both the perspectives. If you want the informal and formal to go together, that while on one hand you have to really protect informal sector, at the same time you have to understand the issues of formal sector also, who are motivated by the business considerations. Now one of the companies which is managing waste in the country is a listed company, probably the only company in the country which is listed on the stock exchange. Now if their landfill or their waste to energy plant is suddenly stopped, what happens? Their shares go down. They lose back, the word goes around that their major project has been stopped. So again, I'm not their advocate certainly, but if you want to think holistically, then we have to have a proper ecosystem for every player to be able to perform. That's what I'm trying to say. Again, this is a point which I have already mentioned. Here, what are the responsibilities of urban local bodies? To prescribe. Now, one of the problems all of you know is that the municipalities don't have very strong financial base. Their property collection, property tax collection is rather poor. And many municipalities in the country, probably majority of them, they really struggle to pay the salaries of the employees every month. In such scenario, then where will they pay to the private contractor? So they become the last priority, because if you don't pay to the municipal employees, they immediately strike the work. But private contractor cannot. So what you need to do, and that is prescribed by law, you levy and collect a solid waste management fees for collection and transportation. But despite specific provisions, many ULBs don't recover that. They don't levy it either. So I personally feel that this is something which should be mandatory, and its collection should also be mandatory. And if that is done, that will give the corporations or the ULBs enough money to be able to pay the salaries, not only salaries, but also honor their contracts. Now, another issue is of priority allocation to SWM. Even if you have money and you don't allocate it to solid waste, and you rather spend it only on concretization of road, or maybe for organizing different programs, then this sector is again starved. So what probably you need to have is a ring-fenced escrow mechanism. Solid waste management fund should be created that should ring-fence the money coming from the SWM, fee collection should directly flow into the ring-fence fund, and out of that one should be able to pay to the staff as well as the private service provider. And as I said earlier also, need to fulfill obligations with both formal and informal service providers. So it's not only question the formal service provider, but also informal service provider. I think I'll give a very solid, concrete example of a contractual arrangement in Mumbai that we did in one part of the city, and this is also an example how that was not ordered after I left that particular job. So in one area, in Mahakali area, Andheri East area, we identified a kind of an ALM society and the group of rec pickers. We gave them formal contract. Enter into a contractual arrangement that you will provide the house-to-house collection, you will go for segregation, etc., etc. But later on, once I left the corporation, the local corporators and the municipal officers, they cancelled the contract without giving any reason. And the community, the ALM group, of course, they were very well-off people, they complained, but then after that they did not really follow it up. So need to fulfill the contractual obligation, and that is where I said we need to have some kind of regulatory framework. The last point which I would say is very, very important, monitoring mechanism. At the moment, we don't have a very effective monitoring mechanism. Now, solid waste is one activity, management is one activity probably which is most challenging compared to any other activities that the other local bodies perform, because it is to be done every day, literally every day. You clear up 7,000 tons today, tomorrow morning another 7,000 ton is ready waiting for you. How long will the staff go on working? They become crazy, they become mad absolutely. On top of that, there are VIP visits, all kinds of things are happening. They can't say no to any activity, whether the president of the country or the prime minister comes or the chief minister comes. Even if the municipal commissioner has to visit the ward, he is the VIP. So they have to run around, to be able to manage with it. Therefore, my suggestion here is that we need to work on a very effective monitoring system, which should be driven by the technology, at least the key parameters. Now, I was introduced that I headed a committee of the Government of India to examine how the IoTs could be used, IoT technology could be used to monitor water supply in the villages, in 20 lakh habitations in the country, all over the country. And with the help of NIC, etc., we developed a system that all the water pumps would have an IoT device, and that message will be communicated through different media, maybe through your mobile, whatever technologies, and that will be captured in the clouds in Delhi somewhere. In the cloud storage in Delhi, will be available to the state government, will be available to the Gram Panchayat also. Similarly, distribution, whether every zone in the area has been given water or not, will be captured. Same way, can we not capture solid waste management parameters? Like if the waste has been collected already some cities have, the QR code or RFID technology on the bin. Once the waste is picked up, they take the picture that is captured and monitored at the command and control system. So similarly at the landfill, the number of trucks, that information can easily be captured. And if that is done, I am sure much of the burden of the municipal staff to monitor will be reduced. Municipal staff then can only have a general, like a flying squad, visit their areas and find out where the waste is lying uncollected. And I'm sure this is something which is doable. Goa must be doing it. It can be done. It was done way back, as I was talking to Mr. Asnani, by a municipal commissioner in Visakhapatnam 20 years back. It can be done now again. So summing up, basically we have been discussing that waste minimization is something which is of essence. But if you really want to take it to the logical conclusion, your city waste management plan must be basically based on decentralized waste management with all the aspects, that we have discussed so far, including the formalization of the informal sector. This will not only promote circular economy, this will conserve natural resources, this will help improve the carbon footprint of waste management activities. You all know that apart from energy and transport sector within the city, 8% of the carbon footprint belong to waste management. So that is the added, you can say, environmental spin-off, integration and effective monitoring. These are some of the issues that I thought I should discuss over here. Thank you very much.